Welcome back, everyone. I really love that clip from the 2018 show, which was a great show, by the way. And Jessica, now you're going to have to change hats a little bit.
Okay.
Not that you're wearing a hat. But you're going from your role as guest host to just guest.
Okay.
And thank you for coming on as our guest.
Happy to be here.
And I want to start out, as we often do with our special guests, we ask them what their Telluride story is. So trying to find out, how you came here, why you came here, when you came here, that sort of thing.
Well, my first time coming to Telluride was actually in January of 1992. And I had been traveling and doing some things. I'd been in California at the Oakland Coliseum for Grateful Dead New Year's Eve shows. And a friend of mine was living in Telluride at the time. And so on my way back to my home state of Indiana, I decided to stop off in Telluride for a few days. And that old story is I got off the bus and I didn't get back on and ended up living in Telluride until about 1998. At which time I had a young daughter and decided to go back to school. So I moved to Alamosa, Colorado, and went to Adams State College and finished a bachelor's degree in history and got a master's in education. Taught and lived in the Vail Valley for about 10 years. And then 10 years ago right now, I made my way back to Telluride, and I've been teaching history and government and current events and all kinds of different things, culinary arts, whatever the Telluride School District has asked me to do, I've said yes.
Yeah,
so
good.
That's the story now.
And it's been a good gig, right?
It's been wonderful. I love it. It's actually, when I left Telluride, my plan was to go to school and come back and teach high school in Telluride. I didn't know there was going to be a 10-year interim in the Vail Valley at the time, but when it comes down to it, I did what I set out to do.
Perfect.
I'm really happy about that.
Perfect. And in addition to being a very dedicated teacher here for those years, you've also been involved with the Telluride AIDS Benefit for many years. I'm not sure quite how many, but you're on the board, and you also have had a very close involvement with the student fashion show. So can you tell me a little bit about the history there, how that happened, and then...
Sure. I'll just say that, I was working actually at the Sheridan Opera House back in the mid-90s when the Telluride AIDS Benefit fashion, first the dance-a-thon with Candy DeGraw and raising money for Robert in the very beginning happened, and then was working at the Opera House when the first fashion show happened, really close friends with Erica Klum and Aaron Smith and a lot of the people that were involved in those early days. And so I knew about the show, and then I left Telluride and did things for quite a while, and when I came back in 2010, I think, my older daughter, her name is Iris, auditioned and was accepted as a student in the student version of the show. And at that point, I told Sandy McLaughlin that I'd be happy to help cover rehearsals once in a while. And I didn't know that 10 years later that I would have, become the new, producing sort of facilitator of the high school show. But that's kind of how it's gone. And a few years ago, I was invited to join the TAB board as the liaison with the high school student show and the education program that we have every year, and that's how it's been going.
You mentioned the early days and that first show at the Opera House, and I was at that show too. I was sitting up in the balcony, and the runway came out
over the seats,
and it was one of the coolest things that I'd ever seen at that time. It
Me
really
too.
was, and
Me
I
too.
was so blown away that this little town, hidden away in the mountains, could produce this kind of just a spectacle. It really was.
Yeah, the talent, the
talent,
clothing, the artistry.
Costumes, the artistry, all of it. So one thing I wanted to say was that what I think is so cool about the student show is it gives these students this opportunity that's kind of multidimensional. Because in addition to finding out what it means to be in a show, to be on stage, to be in a fashion show, they're also being educated about AIDS. And I think that's really cool. And it puts them, to my way of thinking, it just puts them a step ahead of most kids out there at their age.
Well, this is actually one of the main messages that we've used, and basically our show will happen this week on Thursday at 6 o'clock, and then the following week, the week of the gala event, some of TAB's main beneficiaries will come and visit the high school. These are people from Brother Jeff's Community Center, Colorado Health Network's Western Colorado AIDS Project, and CHIP, the Children's Hospital Immunodeficiency Program up in Denver.
Who are the beneficiaries of the money that gets raised through the fashion shows, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And some kids and I took a field trip with also Telluride AIDS Benefit Executive Director Jess Galbo. We loaded up a little school bus and drove up to Denver and visited the beneficiaries.
So cool.
So now there are a certain number of students that are in the show that have a much closer relationship to some of the people that were earning raising money for. And I think we have this phenomenal day where the people come and have a whole school assembly, and then breakout sessions in the afternoon where they teach them about sexual health and risk taking, how to prevent STDs, especially HIV and AIDS, and just have an open discussion about how to keep themselves healthy and safe, and how to communicate, and how to do all kinds of things, and also how to know about some things, very serious things that are happening in other places, impact of poverty on risk-taking behaviors, and how community outreach groups are helping. And we actually have another really cool thing that's been happening for about a year that involves kids that aren't really in the fashion show. One of them actually is this year, Ryder Johnson, but Ryder Johnson and a few other people are part of a computer coding club that are now trading coding challenges with one of the high schools that Intel helped us set up a computer network and computer stations in the Kingdom of Eswatini, formerly known as Swaziland in Africa. And there's so many different branches and things happening.
It's so cool. And I love to see that student involvement. Ryder Johnson was actually part of a tech class that worked with us a couple of years ago and produced a video that was really, really fun. So on average, or typically, however you want to put that, how many students are involved each year in the student fashion show production?
Well, I think that we've had years with as few people as maybe the mid-30s, 35, 36, but this year we have like 65 students involved.
And so they're playing roles at some behind the scenes, some in front of the scene?
Most in front of the scenes.
Most in front of the
we
scenes.
have wonderful Rowan Warren, who's an extraordinary tech guy that I'm sure you guys are familiar with.
And
Claire Shaver, who are two main behind the scenes people. But almost everyone else is an intern, a director, a choreographer, and 45, 50 models, volunteer models joining the show this year.
So if you could you just tell us a little bit about this year's show, what you see as distinguishing it from other years, or what you're most excited about, or any particular challenges? Just help us understand
this year may be
like
the finest show so far, which I think I may say that every year, and I may keep saying it into the future. It's a really fun thing to say. But Danica Pettit is the director, and Lucy Wesson is the choreographer, the main ones, and they're assisted by a team of interns this year. I think we have 5 at least, and we have other people that are involved. Kat Belode and Grace Ringstad are helping with video production and a slideshow and all kinds of other things. And then we have I would say a relatively dance-heavy show. 2 of the interns are Sophia Watkins and Bella Galbo, who are both really accomplished, wonderful, graceful dancers, and they've brought a real dance flavor. So it's a combination. Usually the show is really just sort of dependent on who the creative people are. But we have an amazing set, we have amazing lights, and it's so professional. I think people will really be impressed.
I hope you can put some tickets aside for me.
It certainly will.
All right. Well, listen, Jessica, thank you so much.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I can't wait to see the show. It sounds great. And right now, we're going to go to a retro ride clip of the 2008 Student Fashion Show. Really, really cute number. I think you're going to like it.
Okay, look forward to it. Thank you.